Hello and welcome to today's topic, spinal mobility. Now, before we can get into the spine itself, we have to do a little bit of preliminary work. And this is the exercise I chose because for one, we can divide it up in 3 levels, all the way at the top, moving down to your elbows, and the last level will be lying down all the way. Now, since the spine is not separate from the rest of the body and it connects to our hip flexors, our shoulders, and the mobility around those areas is connected to spinal mobility, we need to warm those up and loosen those up first before we can move on to the spine itself. Now, I don't have to tell you about the importance of spinal mobility because it's literally the part that connects your whole body to your head, and if you neglect it, you're gonna have a lot of problems ranging from herniated discs to spasms and tightness and all kinds of posture problems. So use this exercise first, work your way up to level 3, and in between sets, I would recommend 3 sets, do this exercise to loosen up your spine. Moving on to exercise number 2, now we're going to include our shoulder and hip mobility together. We're going to put one hand on the wall behind us and we're going to try and do spinal rotations from one side to the other. Now here, there's just a tiny bit of spinal mobility that we need, but most of the mobility is going to be directed at our shoulders and at our hip flexors. We're gonna switch from one side to the other, try and do a couple of sets for 8 to 10 repetitions. Take your time, do a couple of breaks in between just to stay loose, and then start up all over again. It's important to note that some of the exercises we're going to be doing here today are not meant for beginners, and you should take care when working on your spinal mobility because injury risk is a factor. We're going to move on to exercise number 3, and we're going to do very low rotations. For that one, we sit down having both feet and both knees on the ground at all time, and the same rotations we did on the wall, we are now doing on the ground. For this, we're going to need a lot more hip mobility, the same one we needed for exercise number 1, level 3, and we're gonna need a lot more shoulder mobility to get all the way to the ground. After that, we're gonna move on to a very classic exercise for spinal mobility and shoulder mobility, including the hips and our quadriceps, the bridge. For this one, what I do is 4 to 6 intervals of 30 seconds of just going up there, holding it. Try and breathe as deeply as you can to open up your stomach a little bit and to have a little bit more stretch in that area around your stomach and your obliques. Hold it for 30 seconds, sit down or lay down, take a short break, maybe pull in your legs close to your body so you move the spine into the other direction before you go in for another repetition. When you can hold it for 30 seconds multiple times, that is a good sign that you can move on to the next exercise. Also for this one, be sure when you go back into the laying down position to do it slowly and not to just fall down because you could hurt yourself. Pull in your legs and then repeat the whole thing. The great thing here is we're not only passively working on our mobility, but we're actively strengthening our arms, our shoulders, our core, the back and spinal erectors, and our leg muscles, as well as getting that nice stretch in our quadriceps, in our hip flexors, and in our shoulder joints, which, as we said, is going to be part of working on our spinal mobility, especially in the extension phase, because that's where we have the most shoulder and hip flexor inclusion when working on our spine. Then lay back down, as we said, take your time, do it slow, afterwards pull your legs in to take off the pressure and decompress the spine, and we can move on to the next exercise. Now here we get to the advanced stuff because this is a loaded exercise for switching between thoracic and lumbar spinal mobility. We need to get into a handstand position close to a wall, and we're gonna switch from here, our lumbar mobility work, to our thoracic mobility work. Also, this one opens up our shoulders as always and our hip flexors just the same. For this one, you're gonna need a little bit more strength in your arms, which is an added benefit of this exercise. If you can hold it for long enough, you're gonna be strengthening the rest of your body too. As you can see here, switching from one to the other is really easy with your legs on the ground, and the added benefit of having your whole body weight up top over your arms is that you have a loaded stretch that really pushes in a lot more than if you would do it without loading or passively. And here we're using our own body weight, so we don't need any equipment. All we need is just a wall close to us Just be careful when dismounting to take your time and to do it slowly, and repeat this a couple of times with breaks in between to take the pressure off your arms. And then we're gonna move on to the next exercise. Again, a loaded spinal mobility exercise, but for this one we have our lumbar and thoracic spinal mobility together in one single exercise. For that, we want to have a nice arch and push our chest outward as far as we can. From time to time, pull your head back, as you can see here, to take the pressure off your shoulders and off your thoracic spine, and then push forward again. Try and hold for 30 seconds, go down slow. Repeat it for 4 to 6 times during the whole session. I do 1 to 2 minutes in between as a break, where I pull my legs in close to take the pressure off my spine, and then I move on to the next exercise. Now here we have high semi rotations from one side to the other. High means that we start out in the deep squat position with our knees not on the ground but close to our body, and while we move back, we bring our knees closer to the ground to include our hip flexors in the stretch as always, and have our shoulders and arms extended fully. We do semi-rotations, meaning we don't do the full circle as we're going to demonstrate later, but we stop and go back again. Here we have the full rotations. And I have to say, I still struggle with this exercise a little bit, which is why I put it all the way at the end of my practice. And that includes our exercises for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Please be careful when working on your spinal mobility. I hope I'll see you guys very soon. Captain Cairo, peace out.